Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Reba Osborne. I'm the Director of Government Affairs at the Naperville Chamber. Thank you so much for joining us. At the Naperville Area Chamber of Commerce, we aim to be your advocate, your resource for our community. Today is one example of how we do that. Thank you so much for our Business Works Committee for putting this on. One note, we will be recording this whole session, and the recording will be up on our website, so you can reference it later and pass it on to anyone that may be interested in reviewing the recording. The format of this event is as follows. Each candidate will be called upon to give a 1-minute introduction, where he or she will provide information on how why they're running, their qualifications, and their key issues in their platform. Each candidate has completed. Once each candidate has completed their introduction, we will ask them one round of questions. They will have 1 minute to respond. Then we will ask a second question, again in a different order, and they will have also 1 minute to respond. And I will raise my hand at the 50-second mark as a kind of a cue that you're running out of time. And then we will also have, I will interrupt you at the 1 minute mark. So just to protect everyone's time so everyone has a chance to speak. So after the question, the two questions, we will refer to our chat for any questions that are posted there. Please, at any point during the questions, please put the audience is welcome to put your questions in the chat, and we will go to the Q&A. And then if time allows, we will go on to another second and third and fourth round of questions. So with that being said, we will go ahead and get started. So I will, I'm a little spastic with my timing and all this monitoring, but I will do the best that I can. So first off, we will start with our introductions. And first off will be Allison Fosdick. Could you introduce yourself, please?
All right, thank you for having us today. My name is Allison Fosdick. I've been a longtime Naperville area resident. We have 4 children. The oldest is a district graduate, and she's a junior at the University of Illinois. We have a high school sophomore, a 6th grader, and a 4th grader. I earned my bachelor degree in international studies from Miami University of Ohio and my master's degree in English from Northern Illinois University. And I work part-time right now as an English professor at Aurora University. I feel really lucky to have time to be involved and invested in the community and in our schools. I've served most recently as a PTA president, an art awareness volunteer, a PADS volunteer at church, and I'm currently the vice president of the Orchestra Parents Association at Neuqua Valley High School. I've been interested in running for school board for the past couple of years, especially as my kids get older and I have more time to commit. And Reba, are you telling me I'm up?
Yeah, 10 more seconds.
Okay, 10 more seconds. I just got a flash out of the side. I'm interested in focusing primarily on equity, social emotional skills for our kids, and communication between the district and families. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Allison. Okay, next up we have Marina Kasak.
Thank you for hosting us today, Reba. I really appreciate being here. My name is Marina Kosak, and I can sum up in 2 words the reason why I'm running for the school board: our kids. Every decision made by the school board has to put our kids first. District 204 has always been a leader in education, and yet we need to continue to set that bar higher. In the next 4 years, we are going to have a plethora of issues to tackle. Some of them include our achievement gap, our higher than average class sizes, and the hiring and retaining of highly effective teachers. And we're going to have to do all of that while maintaining fiscal responsibility. I bring 25 years of public education experience to the table, including 15 years as a building administrator. So I understand school budgets, and I understand which data-driven questions we need to ask our district leadership in order to help them think creatively to solve issues. So thank you again for having us, and I look forward to talking to you more.
Hey, wonderful. Perfect timing. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Laurie Donahue.
To my unmute. Okay, hi, I'm Lori Donahue and I'm running for re-election. I've been a longtime resident. My children were very fortunate to go to school in the district from kindergarten through high school graduation. I am running because we did a lot of work on social and emotional learning and brought equity as goals in the district, and I want to see that work continue. I want to see every one of our students shine and have enlightenment and the joy of learning every day they're in school. My background is I have a bachelor's of science in computer engineering from the University of Michigan, MBA from Benedictine, and I have a very long career in telecom, leading large business and technical groups, including a $1 billion procurement program and a $250 million investment portfolio. I retired in 2018 to spend more time on school district functions because there is a lot to do. And I also volunteer extensively in the community. So I look forward to answering the questions of this forum. So thank you very much.
Perfect. Perfect timing. Thank you very much. Okay, next up we have Yami May Lang. And she gave me permission to call her May because
Yeah. Thank you
so much.
Yeah. Good afternoon. I'm Yan-Mei Liang. I live in Naperville for over 15 years. In the past 15 years, I worked in Will County Health Department as a public health nurse, and I also I also serve as a board director of Saddle Creek Homeowner Association, and I ensure a safe and environment for hundreds of homes. And I also volunteer at Bolingbrook Christian Health Center for over a decade. And I've been a nurse in China, England, and the United States. I believe my medical knowledge and global healthcare background and experience will prove to be an asset to the board of District 204. And I also think if I'm elected in my term, I will not support increasing property tax, but advance excellence of education through reprioritizing funding and financing and budgeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Saba Haider.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, NACC, for hosting this forum. I'm Sabah Heather, and I'm running to help all students learn, lead, and thrive. I'm a wife and a mother to two beautiful and kind middle and elementary school kids. I have a master's degree in wildlife science, and I've worked to protect endangered species in our precious environment. After having kids, I started my business and immersed myself in community service. Now, I train people to become wellness teachers. I provide consulting services to various corporate organizations. I also teach students of all ages the skills and tools to manage and improve their physical, emotional, and mental well-being. My mother, my mentor, she runs a school for underprivileged kids, and working with her has given me the insight to inner workings of a school and how they are run. If elected, I will be an advocate for social, emotional, and mental health of our children, equity, foster community collaboration and communication, transparency, and fiscal responsibility. In this time of strong opinions, I want to focus on the future. Yes, we are tired, but we cannot stop taking wise decisions now. Let us focus on reason and empathy. Let us look to the future and recommit to the students. Thank you for listening. I am number 6 on the ballot, vote number 6 on April 6th. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So next up, we have another incumbent, Susan Taylor Deming.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us here today. Susan Taylor Deming, and I'm running for re-election. I'm a 25-year resident of the district, and my 2 girls are both graduates of Waubonsie Valley High School. My bachelor's degree is in business from Rice University, and my MBA is in management and marketing from Columbia University. I've worked in the corporate sector where I negotiated multi-million-dollar projects for cable entities, and I've also worked in the not-for-profit sector, and now I am the Director of Leadership Giving at Elgin Community College, where I have the chance to help students' dreams come true. I'm very proud of the work that we've done over the last 4 years at the district, including having an opportunity to increase the number of underrepresented students in AP courses, increase the number of preschool opportunities for all students, as well as working to bring an equity statement in our district. I want to continue the work on equity that we've begun. I also want to ensure that we're providing strong social and emotional resources for our students as we move forward from the pandemic. At the same time, district policy, municipal plan land development, and curriculum updates are all remain on our agenda. My commitment is to remain focused on all of our priorities. Thank you so much, and I'm interested to hear the questions that you have for us today.
Great, thank you very much, Susan. Okay, next up we have Kader Sakara.
Hey, thank you, Reba, and thank you to NACC for hosting this event. My name is Kader Sakaria. I am running for the school board for IPSC 204. I have an MBA from Northwestern University, and I'm currently serving as the board member at NCTV 17 as well. I've been a resident of Naperville for more than 24 years and a proud father of 3. Like every parent, I've been a constant advocate of my children's education, and that's the chief reason I'm actually running. My other motivation actually comes from my professional background in higher education technology, where I'm able to observe the higher education changes that's happening in the United States, and we need to keep up. We need to prepare every student to achieve success after graduation, however they define it, which means enhancing equity is my priority. The board needs to ensure that every student and educator has the resource they need, and that every constituent is included in the decision-making process. So among the field of great candidates, I stand out because of my unique technical background and my commitment to provide detailed plans across a broad range of issues. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Perfect timing. Okay, so now something I failed to mention in the beginning, Raj Narayan and also Shannon Adcock could not join us today. Raj may join us a little later. So Lindsay, if you could let me know if you see him, he could pop in. But and we also have in our chat a link to our website that shows all the candidates, their social media, and all their links to their campaign information for more information on these candidates that could not attend, as well as all the other candidates. So next up we have Robert Harris.
Okay, thank you. And again, thank everyone for putting this forum together. For over 20 years, I've served in various education leadership roles, K through 12, community college, and university capacities. That includes teaching, faculty hiring, and curriculum design. Among others, I've also worked for IBM, HP, and AT&T. Therefore, I have real-world classroom and also business experience. Today, I'm employed at Lewis University as a program director and assistant professor at the College of Business. I have 4 key goals that I'd like to accomplish upon being on the board. Focus on students. Number 2, student services. Increase student success by helping all students grow socially, emotionally, and academically. Number 3, manage district resources, making sure that the community and district parents have an open door to us. Number 4, diversity, equity, and inclusion. My education is I have a PhD from Benedictine University, an MS degree from Roosevelt, a BA degree from Ohio State University, and a PMP certification from the Project Management Institute. Thank you very much.
Perfect. All right, very good. Thank you so much. So we will now move to our first round of questions. And I will.
Sorry, Reba, I didn't get a chance to introduce myself.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
I can. Although I know everybody has hear my introduction, but if you will allow me.
Oh my gosh.
A minute.
Okay, Sapna, I totally apologize. I had you scheduled, and then I just, for some reason, skipped over that. Oh my gosh, forgive me. Okay.
No, it's not a problem.
Thank you so much. I looked and like something's missing. Okay, apologies. Okay, Sapna Jane.
Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. My name is Sapna Jane, and I believe in the African proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. I'm lucky to have benefited from a village that cared about me and my potential, and that's one of the reasons why I'm running. I have a background in law. I have a master's degree in communication, as well as a political science degree from University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. As a parent, educator, and advocate, I really believe I can bring a unique perspective to board discussions and decisions. I'm a proud mother of 2 boys in the district, a professor in the communication department at North Central College, and the founder and artistic director of a nonprofit organization. So when you get to know me, you get to find out pretty quickly that education is truly a part of everything that I do, and running for the board for me feels like a natural extension of how I like to spend my time. If given the honor to be elected, I will be committing and using an equity lens when making decisions, and I will advocate for teacher training in equity and developing a more inclusive curriculum, developing social emotional competencies, preparing our students better for the workforce, and making sure that no child is left behind during the pandemic. So I look forward to sharing my views, and I hope you'll vote for me number 8 on the ballot before or on April 6th. Thanks, guys.
Great. Thank you so much, and apologies again. Okay, must be. Okay, so our first question is, I will repeat it twice, and also, I will try to put it in the chat. Okay, so how will you balance the need to support economic development while still ensuring resources are available to accommodate additional students to the district? Okay, let me read that one more time. How will you balance the need to support economic development while still ensuring resources are available to accommodate additional students to the district? All right, so our first I will call on Mr. Robert Harris.
Okay, great question. Well, first and foremost, I have to make sure that the students are my first priority. So when I consider the third item on my list, which says manage district resources efficiently, effectively, and keep open communication and collaboration with the community and also district parents, also the school board. So that means that when topics like this come up, I think feasibility studies absolutely make sense. But again, we want to make sure that we're focusing on the students. We've got issues in our community that deals with class sizes. We want to make sure that that's always at the best size. We got certain issues at the northern end of our district where there's issues now about overcrowding. We've got operational issues that we have to consider. How do we transport people from point A to point B? So again, focus on the students, focus on the students, focus on the students. And if I've got time permitted, I guess there's just 3 other items I would like to put in very early.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Time is up. I apologize. I was doing something and didn't give you my 10-second warning. Thank you so much. So next up we have Kader Sakara.
Thank you, Reba, for a great question. Now, from my perspective, the priority is guaranteeing equitable access to any student who comes to our schools, right? This requires long-term budget planning, something I have extensive professional experience doing. We need to make the current budget more efficient, but also set priorities very clearly and communicate that clearly with our community so that there's accountability there. The second part of it is supporting economic development starts with quality school system, right? And I believe there's a lot that our district can learn from our local businesses. That's why I'm proposing establishing and enhancing partnership with the local businesses so we can ensure that our students are prepared for success after graduation, however they define it. There are good examples of innovation labs in the greater city of Chicago that we can take some ideas from. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up, Sapna. Oops, hang on for one more second. Let me reset my clock here. Okay, sorry about that.
So in my view, the business community and the school district share the common goal of maintaining a high quality public education, because good schooling district brings in residents, brings in business, brings in outside folks to visit our area. So we all have the common goal of ensuring that our district maintains its high reputation of offering excellent academic programs. There's a couple of things so that we as candidates for the board, and if elected on the board, need to be mindful of, and that's really protecting the financial interest of the district when new development is coming in. That the development that's coming in is more about commercial business as opposed to residential development, which will bring in more students, but not necessarily the money to fund the programs that we have. running already on an 80% adequacy for our programs is an issue, and we can't exacerbate that issue with approving development that would make it harder for us to provide those programs.
Great, thank you very much, Sapna. Okay, next up we have Susan Taylor Deming.
Working with cities, both the city of Naperville and city of Aurora, to let them know that we strongly support economic development within all of our areas. But it is very challenging when we see economic development coming that predominantly is residential. And we have to work very closely with both communities when that happens to make sure that the generation tables that indicate what the developer says regarding how many students will be brought to our schools really is in concert with what we see from our demographer. Our demographer has done an excellent job over the past few years, and every time we see those generation tables indicating the number of students, we are usually right on target. We've done a very nice job with the city of Aurora. We did an intergovernmental agreement to ensure that we can work in concert. We're continuing to work with Naperville to address those issues. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Okay, Saba.
Thank you, Reba. I believe in order for us to thrive as a community, we have to focus on 3 pillars of a strong community. The 3 pillars are: 1, the school district; the second is the business community; and third is working in tandem with the cities. In order for us to be able to make sure that we are able to do that, we have to work together so that the progress that we have gained so far is not lost. The work needs to be done together so that we are providing quality education to our students in the district, and there are good schools. And just yesterday, we found out the news about Naperville being one of the greatest cities in our nation to be raising children and families. We were able to do that because we know the value of high quality education. We know the value of business because high quality education brings families in. When families come in, businesses thrive. And now at this junction, businesses and the district need to work together to make sure the city is making decisions that is helpful to both the business and the district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So next up, we have May.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good question. I'm sure good school is critical for local economy. And if I'm elected, I will not support increasing tax, but I will advance excellence of education through reprioritizing funding, financing, and budgeting. With the limited sources of educator in District 204, I would suggest bigger size classes with small supporting group for AP students to cultivate self-learning ability, to promote the spirit of helping one another. Also, awarded pure tutoring could be an option to help students who need extra help, as well as an option for leadership for excelling students. I also suggest an investigation of possibility of inviting local restaurants to serve cafeterias in high schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up we have Lori.
So I'm going to build on things that people have already said, but high performing school districts bring businesses, and there's a relationship there that's incredibly important that we need to maintain, that we need to support business development, commercial development. Residential is where we have concerns, and as Susan talked about, looking at the generation tables and the fees, we need to make sure that we protect our school districts as well as grow our business community. And so to do that, we have to work together. We have delivered high performing schools at 80% funded. And to do that, we have to protect every dollar. So we need to work with the builders that are coming in that want to build residential units, and also support the commercial development by making sure that the tax revenue flows to our schools to help fund the students that are pouring in from these different developments. So we're very much supportive of growth in the business area, but we need to do it also very carefully.
Perfect, thank you very much. You guys are so good at this, the timing. Very good. I know this is kind of a different format. Okay, so next up, Marina.
Thank you. I think a lot of things have already been said that I was going to say, but there's a couple of things I'd like to add. One of the things I think Mr. Sakaria alluded to is researching that public-private partnership opportunity within our community. We are a community. We are just not a school district. We are just not a business community, but we are a community. And I think by working together, we can offer our students some job shadowing, some internships that they might not otherwise get if we don't have that partnership. I also think that as a board, we need to be transparent about how we are spending our money and making sure that all of our stakeholders understand where their tax dollars are going. And we need to maintain that high quality education so that we maintain our great housing costs and that people want to move to Naperville. That's really important, that we create this community that people want to move to and stay. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. So next up, we have Allison.
All right. Thank you, Reba. So most of the candidates have covered most of the things that I would add to this conversation. Of course, we have a mutually beneficial relationship, right? The business community, the school community. We want all of our city, all of our town, all of our community to be thriving, right? The collective cities that make up our school district, our community around us. One of the ways we can do that is by making sure that we are part of the conversation when new developments come, by emphasizing the importance of that educational piece as well. Also by getting students involved, like Marina said here, in some partnerships and internships. But I also think we need to focus on regular communication and meeting with the business community, with the chambers of commerce, just so that we are in touch with one another, so that we foster this ongoing positive relationship. And so if and when issues do arise, we can work on them collaboratively. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Great job. First round's over. So just as a reminder to our audience, please put any questions that you have in the chat. We'll have one more round of questioning and then we'll go to our questions in our chat. So please be putting those in the chat. So next up, question 2, what is your plan to increase inclusion and equity in the school district staff, students, and curriculum? Again, what's your plan to increase inclusion and equity in the school district staff, students, and curriculum? And I will put this question in the chat to refer to. All right. Okay, let's get back to my system here. So first, Susan, please respond.
Well, we have, in our district, we have set one of our board goals to ensure that equity is a part of not only a focus for us at the district, within our classrooms, but also for us, we hold ourselves responsible to make sure that equity is something that we as a board mirror for at every single meeting. We are looking at, we have set a board equity statement that we are going to use to guide our equity process throughout the district as we move forward over the next year and a half. That will include involving students, staff, administration, but the community as well. We'll continue along the lines of how we use our Engage 204 process. We want to make sure that the community, that means families, as well as businesses, as well as city government, is involved in our equity process along with students and staff. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so next to answer the question is Saba.
Thank you, Reba. It's an excellent question. And how can we make sure that we are working on inclusivity and equity from all the 3 points, from students student, from staff, and from curricular perspective. First of all, staff, we want to make sure that we are training our teachers to understand that we all have implicit biases, that there are just so much historical inequities around us. Become aware of that, train them to start to see that so that it starts to reflect in the classroom on a day-to-day basis. And we take steps to prevent that. Students, how can we make sure that the students, we have to allow these difficult yet deeply necessary conversations to happen in the school. We have to allow for the parents to be involved at the school level where they feel that they are welcome, no matter what diverse background or culture they are coming from, so that students feel safe, included, and welcome. Curriculum, we have to make sure that we weave the stories of our culture, of our history, of our backgrounds into our everyday practices, everyday classroom lessons, and make sure that collectively we are making our staff, our students, and our curriculum more conducive for inclusivity and equity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next up, May.
Yeah. This is a good question. Yeah, equity is very important to everyone in school. I think in order to make the community, the school community, to have the equity, training, in their, like, become the part of their school life is very important. So I think how to create it, the atmosphere in the school is very important. And in that case, the training with the staff is very important. So if the staff get the training and educated, and then they could start to practice in their class, that will influence the students. And I think the staff should, include it, different culture in their classroom, and then make the students feel like welcome and included. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Laurie.
Okay. So this is an incredibly important topic for us. As if you look back 4 years ago in our district, you would not find equity in our goals, and now you'll find it on the board goals as well as on our district goals. So this is something that we believe touches every aspect of a child being in school. We want our materials, our teachers to understand our children's culture. We have 115 different languages spoken at home from our students. More than half of our students are identified as non-white. So we want all of them to be nurtured and celebrated, and their accomplishments recognized in our curriculum and materials. So we have done a lot of work already, starting to look at all of our curriculum, our LMC materials, to make sure that they're reflective of the students that we have in our district. As far as hiring staff, we have tried many different techniques, like going to historically Black colleges to recruit, and also programs to grow our own. So encouraging our current students to go into teaching. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up, Marina.
Thank you. District 204 has made great strides to ensure that equity is a part of our school daily life as it relates to racial and cultural differences. And I think we need to continue to provide our staff with the resources that they need to be culturally competent leaders. Our students need to have a voice in their classroom without feeling scared or afraid there's going to be any form of retaliation. These competence, these standards that teachers, or I should say the way of teaching, is good teaching, because they're learning not only about how their own implicit biases affect their classroom, but they are also learning about the different ways that their kids are needing to learn in their classroom. It's about good teaching. Part of this equal educational opportunity also has to do with the achievement gaps that we are seeing in District 204. For example, our special education population is way above the state average when it comes to that gap. So those are things that we need to address.
Thank you very much, Marina. Okay, next we have Allison.
All right, so we have 3 parts here that you've asked: the staff, the students, the curriculum. First, in order to address inclusion, equity in the staff, I think we need to work on making sure that our staff and our teachers better reflect our student population. I know Lori touched on several ways that the district has worked hard to increase the diversity of our teachers and staff. An additional way I'd recommend is perhaps widening the applicant pool even further, and relying on community organizations who have connections, different diversity community organizations, to perhaps encourage candidates to apply. I'd also like us to seek to continue that professional development that we offer to teachers, and our commitment to equity. I know there's already the equity leadership teams at the buildings, building leadership teams, equity ambassadors. I know that ongoing professional development is happening right now in our district, and I'm really proud to be at a place that puts that at the top of our list of importance. For our students, I'll address quickly. I want to give them a chance to talk. I want to give them a chance to have that communication with others, to learn from one another, and to celebrate the differences, and to, really enjoy living in a diverse place. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Allison. Okay, next we have Sapna.
I think nowadays the term equity is such a buzzword. In many ways, I'm thrilled by that, but in many ways, I feel like individuals don't understand the work that's required in order to truly understand equity. There's a lot of individual reflection and listening and reading to understand the experiences beyond your own. And so if we're really committed to this, which I know the director, Jennifer Rowe of Educational Equity is, she described it in a board meeting as when you talk about equity, you've got to, it's not a side dish or the entree, it's the plate. It's everything. Its prevalence is everywhere, and you've got to appreciate that and understand that. So first and foremost, as a board member, we have to commit to using an equity lens with everything. We have subject matter experts in the house, like Jennifer Rowe. We just need to give her the resources she needs so that she can scale her programs across the district. With regard to teaching and staff, we need to value and acknowledge our teachers that represent diverse communities already, so that they feel wanted and seen and secure. And then we need to make efforts to hire more that reflect the diversity of our district. So I have so much to say on this, but I'll stop there. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sapna. Okay, next we have Kader.
Thank you, Reba. I'm going to touch on, and Ms. Kozak already had talked about it, right? But the first step is actually to talk about the issues, right? Because no board member is actually going to be having full visibility of all the challenges that's happening. That means that we need to be talking with each of these groups, specifically on the teacher groups, to kind of talk about professional development, and also have a way to talk to a larger community so we can provide a feedback channel to our staffs, so that way we can create an inclusive way of trying to get the curriculum put together, right? The second part that I'm also on my platform that I'm actually been pushing on is a democratically elected student advisory board, which will have a student have a significant say in the curriculum that we are trying to build on as well. And also, I have been a big proponent in pushing, kind of opening up and expanding a lot of the public forums, and also expanding some of the commenting periods so we can hear from the community at large. Once we have these conversations, right, the board has to lead proactively, starting with hiring. We need to recruit diverse staff and compensate all the staff appropriately for all the great work they do. And we need to kind of retain some of our critical staff as well, right? So it means we need to focus on a lot of systemic changes that we need to be doing, which creates that equity for our district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Apologize there. I failed to give the 10-second warning.
No problem.
Thank you very much. So next up we have Robert.
Okay, thank you. I still believe in the 204 district mission to inspire all students to achieve their greatest potential. And I absolutely believe, without a shadow of a doubt, We can do that through diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that means identifying effective teachers, effective school district leadership, and also make sure that the staff is committed to evidence-based results and excellence. So perhaps the best way to measure that, because that's what we all want, is establishing more accountability and assessments. Thank you.
Oh, very good. Thank you so much. Okay, so we finished the 2 rounds of questions. It looks like we have some great questions in the chat. So let's get started with that. Let's see. This is where it may get weird with my bifocals. I might have to stick my face right up to the screen to see these properly. Okay, so first question, a year later from the start of the mitigations, in what ways would you help facilitate or change how communication was/is facilitated between the school district and the community/parents? Okay, let me reread that. A year later from the start of the mitigations, in what ways would you help facilitate or change how communication is facilitated between the school district and the community/parents? Okay, let me reset my timer here. Okay, let's start with Robert.
Okay, good question. I'm sitting here thinking that, most of the courses I teach are involved in the business schools. A lot of times we use case studies. I can't think of a case study that I can remember historically that talked about a pandemic, particularly one that covers the entire globe that we're working with. But in the same context, the more parents that I talk to, the more stakeholders that I talk to, I really believe that going forward, we've got to make a model, an opportunity for parents and stakeholders to bring the issues to bear. I mean, we had over 300 or 400, some say, parents protesting, whether you agree with them or not. These are their kids. We're on the board to provide their kids, our students, quality education. We have to figure out ways to listen to people, even if we don't agree, but to try to reach some kind of bridge where we can reach some kind of commonalities and solve these issues and help their kids, our students, become successful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have May. Could you please respond to that question? Oh, you're on mute. Oh, okay.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, yeah, this is a good question. Yeah, the COVID-19 pandemic is really gave a lot of stress to the students and families, and that's why a lot of parents voice out their concern and their stress, and they went out for protest and things like that. And I think communication is very important. But first thing about communication is listening and respect. And so with the parents, as board member, and we should listen to the community's voice and also respect their voice, and then also try to provide options for them, for the student to catch up and support the families. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up, Laurie, will you please respond to that question?
Sure. So communication is a very difficult thing to get right, especially in a district of 27,000 students. And the pandemic also gave us the problem that any answer that we give is not the right answer for everyone. So we've been having to deal with that. We have brought in parent groups at different times. We've used the PTA for surveys. I think that going forward, we need to do a lot more work with our parents, bringing them in, and also through our PTAs. When we did a superintendent hiring, I went back and looked. We had all sorts of forums with the community. We had over 1,200 people write in with input. And it took us 6 months, right? We're in this pandemic, we're changing things like, quickly because of health department changes and the desire to get our kids in more frequently. So, it wasn't an ideal situation all the way around, and going forward, we will have more time to plan for the fall. And I want to see more parents involved with that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Marina, would you respond to that question, please?
Sure. The divisiveness that we've seen in our community is really sad. And I think a lot could have been prevented by having more voice of our parents. Back in 2017-18, there was an event or a program called Engage 204 that lasted for that 1 year. And I think that kind of engagement with our community may have helped the divisiveness that now exists. There were 5 different meetings that parents could come out to, and there was a dialogue, a conversation with district leadership and board members. And I would love to see for that kind of program to come back so that we are having the dialogue with all of our stakeholders. I think the ISB asked that each district have a task force, and I think that would have been a great way to get more voices involved in this last year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marina. Okay, next, Allison.
Okay, so I'm going to say first that, hindsight, we all have it. Back on 2020, nonetheless. I think our district, as I've said many times, and our board, our administration, did a really good job with a really terrible situation that none of us have ever been in. Moving forward, how can we improve communication? Like several of the candidates have said, perhaps having more opportunities for community members to share their feelings and have a two-way engagement conversation that may improve things. I think perhaps going forward, if we have this anxiety type provoking like situation like this, maybe a daily update, right? Sometimes people are just clamoring for information, and that might in the future be something that eases that a bit for people who just want to know what's up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next, Sapna.
So I've had the honor and privilege to study communication and teach it for a long time. And what I have learned is that the communication strategy you employ in one situation may not fit for the next situation. That the situation guides you on what strategy might be most important and most effective in that situation. The pandemic tested us all, and there were decisions that needed to be made and guided, that our leadership had to make under unprecedented circumstances. And given that, I truly believe they did the best they could with what information they had at that time. Moving forward, as Allison said, I do think though much of the miscommunication or understanding may have been due to lack of understanding on why those decisions were made the way they were. And so when Marina touched on the Engage 204 program that happened a couple of years ago, that was a program where parents and community members could become more knowledgeable about the finances, about the building restrictions, about what guides their decision making. Although it's often covered in board meetings, maybe parents don't have the time to sit through a 3 or 4 hour meeting to fully understand that. So we've got to be better in breaking it down and making that information more accessible. I like the 204 Engage, but I also want us to realize that as part of the community, we all have to do better in sticking to the issue and not labeling and generalizing individuals.
Thank you very much. Sorry, we're out of time. Okay, Kader, next.
Thank you, Reba. you know, and I agree with Ms. Kozak, right? Like, you know, and with a lot of the other candidates as well, you know, it's become more divisive. And from my perspective is there was lack of transparency, right? And I understand that like communication strategy never fits everything, but what happens is once you have a transparent dialogue around it, people tend to kind of be more empathetic and understand, right? I think that is where I actually strongly feel that we could have actually as a board done a better job, at least the board could have done a better job on it. You know, my challenge has been is like with special needs kids, right? Like, you know, I'll kind of share a personal example where one of my close friends, like, you know, she has a special needs kids, and like she was struggling when her next appointment is going to be. Who do I need to talk to? What are the next steps I'm going to be kind of need to kind of happen to kind of keep my kid kind of focused on the school, right? Like, so from a future perspective, like, you know, I've been focused on is, I'll continue to focus is creating the public forums, expanding them, and making sure that we have a significant amount of community involved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cutter. Okay, next, Saba. Would you please respond to that question?
Yes, thank you, Reba. A few things. First of all, because of the pandemic, we realized that the parents are more involved. We have more questions. We are looking for more answers, and that has allowed us for us to see where some of those lack, you know, some of those gaps are in our channel of communication among all stakeholders of our community. Can it be better? Of course, it can be better. There's always room for growth. We also have to realize that there are a lot of resources, especially on the website. If you go to IPSU 204 website, there are a lot of resources. So first we can tap into those resources and try and make sure that we are using them in order to get to the resource, in order to get the information. But at the same time, as a parent, I would prefer the choice to be given to me before I'm asked to choose. And that what Kader touched upon on transparency and being able to have that option to choose for ourselves. I'm an eternal hopeful person, and I like to think that we can learn from this experience and make ourselves better. With Zoom, can we make our PTAs on different times and make that channel of communication stronger? Can we have PTAs not in the evenings, but some other time? Can we do it not in person, not on the weekdays? So using that to increase and embolden our channel of communication among all stakeholders. There is a lot to be done and a lot to be learned from this experience. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Sarah. Okay, last but not least, Susan.
Thank you. I think one of the challenges, certainly in the communication strategy, revolved around the communication that we received. And of course, things were changing constantly. And so trying to respond to that and trying to make sure that we share that with the community did present a challenge. But I have had some conversations. One thing that I would like to see as we move forward is when communication on something as strong as this, we need to be able to have that potentially in one location on our site. Anything that needed to be known about the pandemic, whether it related to how we were adjusting school attendance, whatever, there should be one location where everybody knows this is where I can go to find out anything that I need. I think we needed to also continue to use our PTAs, but also continue to use our building leadership. And I think we did that very well. We just needed to make sure that we used it a little wiser, as well as continue with the parental and the community view processes that we use in bringing focus groups together. I would like to see us continue to do that as we move forward in addressing how we move into 21-22. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Wonderful, guys. Thank you so much. So mindful of time here, let's look at a couple more questions that are in our chat. We may not get to all of them, but next question. What is being done for students who may have fallen behind during the very prolonged learn from home policy that was established? Along with this, the mental health aspect of the lockdown has taken its toll. What would be the plan moving forward? Okay, I'm going to read that one more time. What is being done for the students who may have fallen behind during the very prolonged learn from home policy established? Along with that, the mental health aspect of this lockdown has taken its toll. What would be the plan moving forward? Okay, with that, does anyone need me I can reread this question at any time. So first, let's start with Cotter.
No, that's a great question, and it's in every one of the parents' mind right now, right? Like, how are we going to be able to kind of catch up? There's few options that I've been kind of exploring and talking to, quite a lot of the teachers that I know. One is to be able to build programs that, like summer programs, that we can actually bring our students back in and be able to kind of transition them back into a full-time kind of process, right? Because one of the things that we have to do is to figure out a way to transition, right? And that is one way to do is to kind of help kind of give what they've been missing, starting once the full-time school starts. Second process is I want to explore and be able to bring, or add additional psychologists to our team, so who can actually provide some of the social mental services and be able to kind of help and guide our students and identify and also equip our teachers, because they are the ones who can easily identify these challenges as well and be able to address that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Guider. So next, Sapna.
So with regard to students who have fallen behind, I believe the district has already implemented surgical intervention, if I can use that word, to identify the students who may have been falling behind and, having additional tutoring sessions with them to bring them back to speed. I also think there's discussion about having a pretty robust summer program for students to receive the information to get back on to pace for what they need for the next year, which are wonderful programs. I think we need to continue to assess the learning loss that may have occurred, not just now, but next year, to really mitigate the negative effects of that. With regard to social emotional learning or the mental health, some of our Black and Brown students may have disproportionately been affected by the loss of loved ones, and that, in addition to the other effects of the pandemic on their mental health, is something we need to be aware of and empower our teachers to address in the classroom moving forward. So those are things that are on my mind and I would definitely bring up if I'm elected.
Great, thank you so much, Sapna. Okay, next, Susan.
As Sapna indicated, we already do have plans for additional resources for students to assess, first of all, where our students are and those that do need additional supports. Summer programs are already being planned, and I actually drove by one of our high schools today and they were already indicating, please begin to sign up for summer programs. So that's going to be critical. As we look at social emotional, one of the things that I'd love to see us do is how, working with psychologists and sociologists, how can we incorporate just potentially during the summer, how can we incorporate even allowing students to come in a means that allows them in a non-threatening, from the non-academic side, but just maybe to talk, maybe to facilitate different type of activities that can allow that social emotional stress to de-stress and to uncover what are some of the areas that we need to be sure that we allow them to express. So trying to find some creative ways that we can look at helping on that social emotional side, I think, is really critical. And the summer may help provide us some opportunities there. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Susan. Okay, next, Allison, would you please respond to that question?
All right, thank you. As several of the candidates have said, we have started to address some of that identification of students who may have had learning loss and starting to provide those supports in form of tutoring or individual work. And there are plans going forward for summer, potentially Saturdays, things to really help kids who have fallen behind at least feel more confident moving forward so that they're better prepared to learn going into next year. As far as the mental health piece, I'd really like to see us do more partnership work with community organizations such as Youth 360. so that we're not necessarily hiring in, new staff that we would have to allow budget for, but perhaps, working with our existing community organizations to provide resources for our students. I also think providing potentially family resources or family workshops is going to be really important, because the pandemic has affected all of us, not just our students, and helping parents and families learn how to help their students, I think, will be really important also. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I apologize, I didn't give you your 10 seconds. Great job, thank you. So May, would you please respond to this question?
Yeah, that's a good question. They all talk about a lot of options, and actually, everyone's situation is very different. Every student's situation is very different, and summer program is essential. Yeah, that's very supportive for the majority of students if they're willing to catch up. But being creative also is another way, and definitely I would think for like a small group learning between the, a small group learning, pure support, and that would be a good idea, as I mentioned at the beginning. And I think this could be a good opportunities for the students. They can help each other and excel, also create a leadership and also extra helps. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much, May. Okay, next, Laurie.
Despite our teachers' best efforts, I know our students have had a very difficult and challenging year with the remote learning. So we need to continue to assess our students. The teachers were focused on essential learnings this year to try and get at the key topics for each of the grade levels. So all of the elementary schools are going through assessments starting like right now. We need to continue to do that. We talked about summer school being offered. We found that most of the students that are mostly struggling the worst or whatever, 67% of them choose to be remote. And so the schools also are working on an effort to get those students to come in to the building, because obviously the remote isn't working well for them. So I want to see that effort and continued. We've done home visits that I would like to see continued, and also all of the help around social emotional learning and mental health is absolutely critical right now with everything these kids have gone through this year. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Laurie. So next, Robert.
Okay, I think Laurie was reading all my notes, but I agree a lot with what she's saying also, in all due respect. I think that, everyone on here, on our board or on this meeting understands the power of assessment. We've really got to assess where the students are. And perhaps the best way to do that now that we're going to a 5-day plan is to assess those students in person when we can, online when we can, and like Laurie was saying, perhaps even at their homes. But I also think that the teachers should also be accountable. So we need some kind of program that obviously unions and the teachers feel comfortable with, so we can figure out where they are socially, emotionally, and see where their skill sets are, and see if there's an opportunity to make some improvements in that regard. When and where would be great also. And I think Susan touched bases on that. If we've got to do Saturday classes, I know that's fine, or we got to do summer school, that's fine. But again, whatever it takes. Thanks a lot, Reba.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Robert. Marina.
There is no doubt that our teachers have worked hard. Our students have worked hard this year as well. However, when it comes down to it, at the end of our school year, whether you were remote or whether you were hybrid, we got about 29% less instructional time this year than in a normal school year. It is going to be really important that our teachers are having vertical articulation meetings starting now and continuing on throughout the spring. What that means is basically, I want to make sure that my son's calculus teacher has spoken to the pre-calculus teacher to know what objectives were not as taught as prevalent as they had been in the past. So those meetings between teams are going to be so important, more important than ever. And I really think that our teachers can incorporate SEL standards, the social emotional learning standards. They can incorporate those into the curriculum. As a former administrator in a building, we had teams of teachers that would meet and discuss how they could incorporate the standards into their everyday teaching. So I think that's another way we could go with that. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Marina. Last but not least, Saba.
Thank you. In order for us to move forward, we all in this room, virtual or in person, what we want is best for our children. So I invite you all to today go to your children and tell them they are doing fantastic job. They have just survived a pandemic. We are kind of still in a pandemic. So please make sure you boost their confidence. You let them know that they are doing a fantastic job, irrespective of the grades are. Now, let's talk about what we can do moving forward. We have to assess and constantly reassess where our students are. Talk to the teachers, talk to the parents, talk to the students, and find out what we can do to provide all the resources to our staff, to our students, to our parents, in order to help cover some of those gaps that we have experienced in the last 1 year. This could be Sunday school, as many talked about. This could be weekend school, summer school, one-on-one tutoring, mentorship programs, mindfulness. For mindfulness, I want to introduce a concept of mindful pods, a group where it is small, it is intimate, and it is safe, where students feel safe to share their social, emotional, and mental needs, and can share and build that strong infrastructure of relationships among them. I think that is utmost important that we work on that right now. And my background is I'm working with the students the most right now. It breaks my heart, but it is a reality. They need social, emotional, and mental support right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Saba. Okay, wow, this hour has flown by. Oh my gosh, such great information packed in a small amount of time. So it looks like that we have kind of a burning question or chat that one person asked, and two people did ask and it wanted for sure to for this to be asked. So this may be our last question of the evening, just because they're giving enough time for each of the candidates to respond. So we will move on to this next question. Do you support the Illinois culturally responsive teaching and learning standards? Why or why not? Let me read that again. Do you support the Illinois culturally responsive teaching and learning standards? Why or why not? I can repeat that at any point. Okay, I'll give you a couple minutes to think about that, and not a couple minutes, but okay, let's start with Sapna.
Unequivocally, yes, I support it. You know, the standard is meant for our future teachers. This is going to be taught to our future educators on how to build a more inclusive dialogue in the classroom. Good teachers are already practicing this. This is nothing new. It's just being codified so that way more teachers understand how to create a more inclusive classroom. The intent behind it is for teachers to respond to their audience, their students. Look at your audience, look at the communities they come from, acknowledge them, see them, integrate their community experiences in your teaching so that abstract concepts become more familiar and relatable. This is good teaching. This is what we've already been doing. And if we're ever going to get over this divisiveness in our country, in our society, in our community, it starts here.
Thank you very much. Okay, next, Marina.
And I know my fellow candidates know that they're on my desk. They're still here, guys. I didn't take them off my desk. These are the standards of which we are talking about. And like Ms. Jane said, it's good teaching. I'm going to read one of them to you. Include students in the creation of an inclusive learning community with more opportunities for student expression. I think I talked about this a little bit earlier. Our students have to have voices. And That's what this is about. It's about teaching our future teachers that their backgrounds, it gives them a chance to reflect on how they were brought up, their implicit biases, and how that's going to affect their teaching in their classroom. And that's what this is, pure and simple. Just to restate what was already said, this is good teaching, to understand the backgrounds and the best way that those students in front of you are going to learn. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next, Allison.
All right, this is an easy one, actually. This is an enjoyable one for me. Yes, I think this is a great thing. I think it's a celebration of who we are as a country, as a community, right? America is the greatest experiment there ever was. We've got all these different people from all these different places together, and we've made a lot of mistakes along the way. So now is the time to acknowledge those and learn, right? Learn, listen and learn. I can't think of anything better than something that encourages teachers to create a classroom that's inclusive, to create a classroom that students feel welcome in and feel accepted for who they are and celebrated for who they are. So I feel great about this going forward. I feel proud that our district teachers are already practicing this in many ways. And it gives me hope for the future. Thank you.
Okay. We get to raise my hand that time. Okay. Thanks very much. Okay, next, whoops. Saba.
Thank you. I remember when my son went to preschool, I had such a hard time explaining my son's name and the right pronunciation of his name. And after a few years, when I went back to the preschool, same preschool, Indian Prairie preschool with my daughter, I didn't have to do that. The teachers already took the time to make sure that they were writing her name phonetically so they get her name right. So our district is already doing it. Our district is already a champion, a leader in culturally responsive teaching and leading standards. Can we do better? Of course we can do better. Culturally responsive teaching allows for our students to feel welcome, safe, and included. They start to see the value in their education. And when the students see value in their education, that's when they make these wonderful, wise decisions for themselves in the future. They choose important college courses. They make better life choices. So just simple actions of our teacher, including their stories, including their backgrounds in everyday lessons, has such ripple effects in the lives of our students when they become young adults and much later in their life. So yes, absolutely all for it.
Great, thank you so much, Saba. Okay, next, May, could you please respond?
I think the United States of America is really a great country, and we are we are either immigrant or the descendants of immigrants. So in this country, everyone, like especially in school, it reflects the country, the different culture and backgrounds, and I definitely support this. This very, very important, because it shows actually the educators are really care about the students. And then in this kind of environment, when the teacher were prepared, then they could include, could make the students feel accepted and also welcome. That's where then they could learn better, because they can feel themselves be proud. Yeah, they could be, proud of themselves and initiate their learning better. Thank you.
Thank you so much, May. Okay, next, Laurie.
So yeah, I agree. This is an easy one because I made comments earlier. I really want our students to have experience in school that reflects their background, their culture, and I really believe that this cultural responsive teaching method is really, as other people have said, making good teaching a standard. And I really hope all of our teachers today are looking at their classroom and saying, I need to understand the backgrounds, the contributions, and celebrate all of these students that are in my classroom and be able to relate to each one of them. I mean, a student needs to see themselves in the curriculum and in the teaching, and that's what this does for our schools in Illinois. So thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, next, Robert.
Okay, I support it also. And let me just read from my notes. It says, the new rule that requires culturally responsive teaching and leading standards to be incorporated in all Illinois teacher preparation programs would take effect in 2025 because the Illinois General Assembly Joint Committee on Administrative Rules voted to approve it on February the 17th. So I'm all for it, hands down. But I'm still want to make sure that assessment and accountability happens prior to that and then after that, okay? Because we just can't wait for the program to start. We've got to have leadership to understand that this is important, and also the teachers buy into this program literally now, because our teachers are in school and our students are in school now. So thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Robert. Next, Susan.
This is so in line with the things that we are already working on in our district, but you know, all of this speaks to teachers in the future. It really is critical for our teachers, and some of our teachers are really doing this now. After we had some of the challenges from last summer, we had so many teachers begin to reach out and find out, how can I do better? How can I help share the stories of persons in my class with my class? How can I help them talk more? How can I help them share their stories? One of the great things about culturally responsive teaching and the pedagogy is that not only does it allow students to see themselves reflected, does it allow their stories to be told, but it allows us to share with other students, because that's the way that we will change our country, is for not only the students to see themselves, but for other students to understand other stories and to respect and to appreciate that we all have given in various ways from a cultural standpoint. So having that pedagogy change not only helps the students, it helps the teachers, and it helps other students, and ultimately will help our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Susan. Okay, last question, Cotter, please respond.
Thank you, Reba. You know, do I support? Absolutely, yes. Right? Is the school district doing it and they are kind of keeping it? Absolutely, yes, they are. Can we improve? Yes, absolutely, we can improve on that as well, right? So since this is the last question, I'm at the last, like I'm actually going to tell with a personal story and then I'll end it. So that way we leave on a high note, right? You know, so my daughter, so she was in high school, my first one, and she wears a hijab and she was playing basketball with the team. And that team actually, you know, was able to kind of go into regionals, which was a great thing for all of us and as parents. And when she started playing, there was a challenge with her hijab because it just kept hindering. And then she had a challenge and she fumbled a couple of balls. So I went in and I actually talked to her and said, like, hey, you know what, if it is affecting you, let's, you know, give me the hijab. I'll hold on to it till you finish the game, because I don't want you to lose the game for your team because of this hindrance. You know who fought me back was not my daughter. It was everybody in that team. They stood up, right? And they said, how dare you? That's her identity, and how dare you tell her to take it, right? So it was not about like winning or losing. It's basically getting that cultural impact together. So that's why I said, like, you know, our district is doing a good job on it. Now, can we improve? Absolutely, yes, right? Because we want to be a champion, so we don't have incident like what happened in Atlanta happen in our city, right? So that's what we need to be focused on as well as a team. So sorry I went over, Reba, but thank you.
Oh, no, thank you so much. I cannot believe this time went by so quickly. I've been so engrossed with what your responses, and I appreciate all your comments. So we are at 5:20, and so I want to respect everyone's time. Unfortunately, we didn't get to all the questions that were in the chat. I would love to go have more, hear from more from each of you, but we better stop at that point. So on behalf of NACC and the Business Works Committee, we aim to be your advocate, your advocate for and your resource for the community. Please keep in mind that we do have all the candidates' information on our website, along with their links to their campaign materials. And also we will have a copy up shortly of this recording of this event. So remember to vote on April 6th, and early voting is available in DuPage County. You'll find information of early voting sites on the DuPage County website, as well as the City of Naperville website. So thank you so much for all your time. Thank you so much for the candidates. I know they've had a grueling election season, but thank you so much, everyone, and thank you for the wonderful questions in the chat. And everyone have a great evening.